Welcome to Global Investment Voice, your premier podcast for diving deep into the world of investment migration. Are you dreaming of a second or third passport? Then join us as we traverse the globe, exploring the ins and outs of the U.S. EB-5 immigrant investor visa, uncover the secrets of golden visas, and delve into the many residency and citizenship by investment programs. Each episode is packed with exclusive insights from top industry experts. Whether you're an investor, developer, or a visionary entrepreneur, we're here to guide you through the complexities of global investment migration. And who better to navigate this journey with than your hosts, the dynamic legal duo of this industry, Mona Shah and Rebecca Singh. Plus, hear directly from a lineup of global investment migration leaders. So, buckle up and tune in to Global Investment Voice, where your global investment journey begins and expands.
Welcome back, everyone. We recently posted a comprehensive podcast on travel issues. Rebecca, you know that last recording we did discuss issues relating to green card holders, but somehow or another, it must have got lost because we've had all these requests for us to repeat that.
I know, Mona. I think it was a bit of information overload.
Yeah.
But like you said, by popular demand, I think this podcast, we're going to solely focus on issues relating to those who are legal permanent residents, also known as the green card holders, who are looking to enter the U.S. under the Trump administration.
Yeah, you know what is really surprising are the worthy requests, because I don't remember ever having received so many comments on a podcast. And, you know, this issue was the topic of the day back in early April when it was first happening and first being recorded by all the press. Do you think it's still there?
Yes, now this is June. We're going to see more and more, I think, because it's summer. I think everybody's going to want to enter the U.S. A lot of people go away for the winter months. So I think we will see more issues relating to green card holders trying to come back into the U.S. at this point.
Yeah, well, it is disturbing because a lot of people say, well, I'm a green card holder. Why am I even being questioned? And I think folks should know that there are several reasons why someone with a green card can be detained at the airport. And most of those really aren't pertinent to everyone. I mean, they include reasons such as you've committed a felony or a serious crime outside of the US, you're a threat to public safety, you're arriving without applying for asylum, or you've recently been deported. The issue relating to a green card holder is only one, that the individual abandoned their lawful permanent resident status. Now, a lot of people listening are going to say, well, I haven't abandoned it.
So, Mona, what does it actually mean that you're abandoning your green card? Like, who are they targeting at this point?
I know, it's a phrase that you wouldn't expect. If you thought that you had abandoned your green card, it means that you've gone and lived abroad for years or something. But no, that's not who they're targeting. Who they're actually targeting are people who use a green card as a multi-entry visa rather than as US being your primary residence.
Yeah, you know, in the past, a lot of people, we got a lot of questions on how long do I have to stay in the U.S.? And we used to say, look, you don't need to stay for any given time period. You just need to enter every 6 months.
That's it. Once you get your green card, that is. Once you're a citizen, it's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to meet requirements as a green card holder, but it was lax before the Trump administration. You can come in every 6 months, stay for 2 weeks, and come back in every so often. But it seems like, as you said, Mona, it's not supposed to be used as a multi-entry visa.
I know. And it's really not fair when you're thinking about EB-5 holders, for example, because the I-829 can take many years. And as we are seeing, there are issues which are now materializing with I-829s. And if you're actually moving over to the US, causing US to be a residence, you know, what do you do?
Yeah, Mona, you know, so there are a lot of investors that we've spoken to and clients where the parents are filing for their children and wanting to bring the entire family, but it is hard for them or the main applicant at times to, you know, leave their jobs right away. Or, you know, there are consequences of, like, for instance, tax consequences of leaving and moving to the US right away. So there are those types of
Well,
issues.
yeah, I mean, that is the issue. That is the point of the EB-5, because one
Hmm.
EB-5 covers your whole family. So if you have 3 or 4 children and parents have no intention of moving over for some years, then what do you do? Do you do 5 separate EB-5s if your children are doing it, or if they're young? That doesn't make any sense. You do one application and you wait until you're approved and then you come over. That should be the essence.
Yeah. So, well, for those who are abroad and who are doing consular processing, you can, in a way, focus on if you know have an approval, then it gets to the consulate. There is a year period that you have before you do apply for the green card. So you can stagger and kind of have an idea of when you want to move over. And then once you get the visa to come over, you have 6 months as well. So it gives you time to recollect and gather your job and your intentions of moving over. At the same time, too, though, we've also advised that maybe one parent file versus both parents filing and coming over.
We have a number of clients who have actually just have done that. But Rebecca, let's give our listeners some advice. What would you advise if they wanted to come over and they're only coming over maybe a visit once or twice or 3 or 4 times a year? What do you advise? What should we do? What should they do, rather?
Well, for those who do have the green card, we do advise that you do need to say when you enter the US that you do reside in the US. If you say anywhere else, then they think you have abandoned the green card.
What do you mean? I mean, we ask this upon entry?
Yes, we've had clients that have been asked, where's your residence? And so you have to say the US, because if you say something else, then they start to question, well, you have a green card to the US. Isn't this supposed to be your permanent residence? So that's the first advice I would say, is to make sure that you say the US when you enter.
So you say the right thing to the officer at the entry. Okay.
Yes. Yes. And so with that comes along with, okay, if you reside in the US, do you have a lease? Do you have ownership of a property?
You mean proof that you
Yes.
reside in the US. Okay.
Exactly. So that would be then the second step. And then in addition to that, Mona, we always advise that you file your taxes.
True. But Rebecca, go back for a second. Say you
Mhm.
don't own property and you don't have a lease in your name, then what would you do? What's your suggestion? To get a lease from a friend?
You can, yes. Well, I don't know if USCIS wants to hear that though, Mona. But yeah, there are ways that you can have a permanent resident in the US. And then especially if it's your first entry, you can say that you're staying with family and until you were able to get permanent residence. So there are ways when you're first entering the US.
Yeah. Well, and then you jump to tax returns. And I think, honestly, Rebecca, that is the crux. I think what this administration is trying to do is, again, make sure people don't use their green card as a multi-entry visa and that they are actually living in the US and spending in the US and paying taxes.
Yes. So a lot of times I know we discussed that, you file your taxes in the US. So it is based on worldwide income. And so the US wants to ensure that if you're coming, especially those from the Middle East, if you're not paying taxes in the Middle East, that you are paying taxes in the US. I think the entire premise too on making sure you're a permanent resident of the US and having property or you're staying and living here is that you're spending in the economy as well.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's he's trying to increase capital. We have seen this in other countries where people have citizenship and they've bought properties and that property's vacant. It doesn't help the economy.
Yeah. So, Mona, we've also advised our clients to, ensure you have bank statements to show that do you have a bank account opened in the US? Do you have funds?
Important. Yeah.
Exactly. And credit cards are also important. Do you have a credit card for the US? But Mona, I want to take it back because, we're saying provide all these documents, but how do I provide these documents? Is there an issue with bringing a phone and showing your phone during this administration, or do I bring paper copies?
Yes. As we did mention earlier,
Yes.
we would avoid you taking these out and giving electronic stuff. Please don't use your laptop. Please go the old-fashioned way, print everything out. And just bring a dossier if anybody wants to know whether this is your residence. Yeah, here's a copy of my credit card statement. Here's a copy of my tax returns. Here's a photocopy of my lease.
Yeah, so I would advise the same, just not to have your phone around because they can take that and scroll through it. And if there's anything in there that is not, you know, I
Something you
guess
want them to see.
yeah, administration friendly, that we do. And that we've said that, we say phone hygiene. And that means making sure that they're able to look through your social media, make sure that, it's something that this administration would be happy to see.
I like that phrase, non-Trump administration friendly. Yeah. Okay. So two more issues. Number one, what if you really are not coming into the country for this period of time? You have a job which is not allowing you. You have residency in another country which you want to fulfill because you want to get your citizen from that country too. And you're only going to make an entry in the US maybe once a year or something. What do you recommend?
Well, for that, there is the reentry permit. It's good for up to 2 years. So you can stay out of the country for 2 years once that is approved. There are some downfalls to that, though, Mona.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the issue with that is that you have to apply for the reentry permit while you're in the United States. So you have to come in and have the application sent off to USCIS while you're in the US. So that's one issue. I know a lot of clients have, it's hard for them to come traveling back and forth. And then you also have to wait for biometrics.
But can't you do this online now? It's all sent online.
Yeah, so not only do you have to be in the US to apply for the reentry permit, the issue then becomes how long do you have to stay for the biometrics appointment? Now, for biometrics, you have to go to a USCIS field office to get your fingerprints done and your picture taken. And that could take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Actually, sometimes we've seen up to 6 to 8 weeks. So that becomes an issue too with clients. We've had clients who have taken the chance that might come in, apply for the reentry permit, leave for that time period, and then come back in. But we always advise if you can stay, just get everything finished, and then you can go back, and then your approval will come via the consulate. So at least you don't have to stay.
How easy is it to change your biometrics appointment? Can your attorney or someone not change it?
That's a bit difficult. You can, but then you're kind of prolonging the adjudication of your reentry permit. And then if you don't get approved for the reentry permit and you've been out for longer than 6 months, let's say it takes
I get it.
8 months to get approved. Yeah, it can cause some issues. So it is a good way. And I mean, knock on wood, we haven't had any reentry permits denied, but you have to have reasons as to why you cannot enter the US and you have to stay outside for that period of time.
Thank you. Okay, so one other issue that we had a request to answer, and I do believe we did cover this, but here we are again. How can you avoid, if you are not sure and you're a little worried and you certainly don't want to be detained, is there any other way to avoid? And one of the other ways to avoid such a situation is to do your processing outside of the US. There are certain airports that you can process your admission, and these include Dublin in Ireland, Abu Dhabi in the UAE, and I believe in Germany also, and Barbados. Barbados, I think you can also process also.
Yes, good advice, Mona, because there are some terrible airports when you're entering the US. So those airports we always advise not to come through would be LAX, which is Los Angeles, JFK in New York, and Miami Airport in Florida.
Yeah, those are notoriously the worst.
Yes. But I think everyone has complained. And of course, this is not an airport in the US, but not to come through Toronto Pearson.
Oh, yes. And that's another place where you can do your processing. And in Canada, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand why. If you are denied entry, for example, you'll be denied entry, you just go home if you go to one of these airports. And if you are denied entry in the United States, right now you would be detained and you may be forced to abandon your green card, which is not what you want to do.
At that point, you want to be sure you do have your lawyer on standby, and then you want to be able to show as much as you can that you're not abandoned your legal permanent residence.
Right. But I don't want to over-alarm people. They should just be aware that these are the issues and the type of people who are being targeted. And the vast majority do come through without any problems.
Oh, 100%. I think if you answer the questions correctly, don't be afraid. I think a lot of people get a bit nervous, and that kind of, makes the officer think a bit more. But I think if you follow the advice given, paper printouts show that you are permanently residing in the US, I think there shouldn't be any issues.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you to everyone.
Always a pleasure.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Global Investment Voice. A huge thank you to all our listeners for tuning in and sharing this journey with us. Curious about unlocking the potential of global migration and citizenship? Make sure to visit us online at mshawlaw.com and globalinvestmentvoice.com. Dive into our extensive library of podcast episodes. Stay ahead with the latest in migration news by signing up for our insider newsletter. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. Find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook to keep the conversation going. Remember, the insights shared in our podcast are for informational purposes only, so please seek tailored legal, financial, or investment advice where needed. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep investing smart and living well with Global Investment Voice. We'll see you on the next episode.